Perfect. Where to start? I know this gentleman for a long time. 20 years maybe? Yeah. Okay. Now 20 years. 20 years. Yeah, I'm an old guy. He's a young guy, but I'm an old guy. And I will tell you a small story, and you know who he is. Years ago, I was appointed director in a company in Dubai, right? I did a good job, apparently, because he got promoted and became a VP something. And next day, I had like 45, team of 45 salespeople, B2B sales, okay? You have to imagine in Dubai, was the whole region there, a lot of egos from all over the world. They are really stars in sales. And I knew the first day we see them, we start, yes, with our prices and the problems, and okay. So I called this guy, come over all the way from the UK to Dubai, not to teach them a lesson, but to show them how to do sales. Imagine 45 sales egos. Sales egos, okay, in one sentence, in a big room. And he enters the room. And of course they're gonna mock him and say, hey, well, come on, I mean, show us the magic, what can he do? We are sales guys. He comes in, it's my head on the table, right? Not him, because he lives back there. It's my head on the table being their line manager now. So the guy comes in, Sanjoy. He didn't say who he was. It's just a simple question. Give me a prospect, right? A prospect that you cannot have an appointment with. B2B, right? The guy's like, they talk to each other first and start talking. And then he came up with a card from, I will never forget it, going to a hotel in Bahrain, right? Yeah. An island in the Gulf. So, that guy, director of the hotel, will never work with the company, Orbit. He's with the company. They don't want to see us. That's what he claimed. He sales guy. Sanjoy, don't know who he is, right? Got his business card. Reception level, no? Put the phone there, big boardroom, put it on speaker. You have to have guts for that. Put it on speaker, right? And cold call all the way from the reception to the guy and got that phone. All right? That's Sanjoy. Whatever he says is important. Everything he will say tonight is important. More important is tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, guys, apply it. Next time I see you, I will talk about your B2B sales. Show me the leads, show me the deals. It's very, very important. He can do it. It's not about him, it's about you guys. So really listen carefully, okay? Listen carefully and apply it starting tomorrow morning. This is the key to success, okay? Very important. He is a master in this domain. Yet every day he's practicing. After all these years, he's still practicing every single day. Sales is not an ego thing. Sales is a process. That's what I believe. Today you will learn about the process. One more thing, if you want to tweet about this, use hashtag BTech in the community. Use Co.Station and Work Café. I'm not sure Work Café, what abbreviation is Work Café? At Work Café? WRK. Okay. Café. Café. Yes. Okay. Co.Station is?
Co_station.
Okay. And hashtag BTech, you know it? Come on, man, let me hear it. BTech is in the community. Well, welcome to Sanjoy.
So I'm very flattered and very honored to be here. I've never done a presentation like this, been put in a situation like this. How can little old me, what would you want to know from me? I'm a very normal, in fact quiet, shy, fast-talking, introvert person. That's not a lie, that's the truth. But you're all here for a reason. And I want to approach this session in the same way I would approach a cold call. I want to approach this session how I would approach selling something, business to business. In fact, even if it's not business to business. And that is, all of you here, why are you here? What are you looking for? What do I need to do, show, and demonstrate in the next hour and a half, 2 hours, that makes you think this wasn't a waste of time?
I don't do anything B2B, and I think there's a market for what I do, and I don't know where to start.
Okay. If someone doesn't speak, I'll pick on them.
Objection, go with no, not interested.
Okay. All right.
And not take it personally.
Get a couple of takeaways that we can practice indeed, as Omar says, tomorrow morning 9 o'clock sharp.
Right.
B2B is too long.
You can speak louder. Up here we can't hear you. Can you
So
speak louder?
I think my sales cycle in B2B is too long. I'd like to optimize it to make it shorter.
Okay. Guys, you're all giving me very Me Too typical as if you're in sales training. I want the real criteria. 'Cause at the moment you're just giving me the out the textbook stuff. You have all of you in your head that, who is this guy to tell us anything? Quite understandable. I want to know your hidden criteria. What exactly needs to happen that you'll think that was great?
To prove your point,
Yeah.
you have to prove you can do what you say.
To make a live call now, today. Do we have a phone here?
When I leave here, I'd like to have the feeling that maybe I can do this.
That's a very good one. That's a good one.
Did it hear it?
Did everyone hear that?
Yes.
When he leaves here today, he wants to have the feeling that he can do this too. Anyone else? Sebastian, what are you looking for? That's fine, that's great. Okay, my objective is, in fact, not to impart everything I know in 2 hours, because I cannot. The sales training I do, I deliver, normally lasts 3 whole days. Today I tried to squash it in to 1 day. Barely covered anything I really need to cover. So my objective today is to give a taster to you all that you want to come back to Omar and pay for a proper full-on session. All right? I can't tell you in 2 hours how to do this. But what I want to convince you is, some of you may think it's easy for him to sell because he's arrogant, loud, and the typical kind of sales guy, right? And a lot of you here are technical and you're hackers. You hate salespeople. Is that right? Salespeople are slimy liars. You probably think the reason I get appointments because I bullshit and yak and force.
No.
So I want to talk about that, tell you about who I really am, what happened for the last 20 years in order to earn the right to be listened to. What do you think? What do you think? I need some response from this side. What do you think?
Listening yourself.
Yeah. No, no.
We're interested.
Listening yourself. You listen first.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I left school in 1985 when I was 16. I am 45 now. When I left school when I was 16, I really was a very shy, quiet, fast-talking, nervous introvert. Now, on top of that, the reason I left school at 16 was because I was thrown out of school at 16. Do you know what O-levels are? So O-levels are a basic examination kids take when they're 16 to do something called A-levels, and after A-levels you go for a degree. So I didn't pass any O-levels. I used to come 21st in my class all the time, and there was only 21 people in the class. So I left school and there wasn't much hope. No good at school, no good at sport, no good at anything, no good at mixing with human beings. My parents were very worried. I really was a complete social retard. So, what kind of job can a person like that be taken into? The only industry open to someone like me was sales. So my first job in the summer of '85 was selling suits in a menswear shop. So I went to sell suits, but I was terrible at it because I didn't want to speak to people. I was too shy. So I would be in the shop and people would approach me and I would walk the other way pretending I hadn't seen them. So this muddled and carried on for 6 months, and eventually I was fired. Then I got into another role, doing some telephone work where I'm chasing up orders. That I got fired after 6 months again. Then I got into a company which was commission-only life assurance. So it's selling life assurance and commission only. And I got recruited into the company by some person walking around the streets of London, just looking at people and saying, hello, do you want to be a trainee manager? Now, because I'm not bright or educated, I didn't realise that there was something dodgy about this. I said, yes, that's me. I want to be a trainee manager. So I went into this commission-only job. I was living with my parents, so even if I didn't earn any money, they would put a roof over my head, so it was fine. Anyway, I did this for a few months, and then something dawned on me, and that was, Sanjoy, something is wrong. You do need to get good at something. So I started asking salespeople around me in this commission-only world, what makes you successful? Give me a piece of you. They would say to me, Sanjoy, you just got to be good with your mouth. You've got to be positive. You've got to have the gift of the gab. I said, I'm not good with my mouth. And I definitely do not want to learn how to talk people into doing things. I thought to myself, I hate that. I hate the idea of selling and pushing things on people which they don't want and they don't need. I just felt very uncomfortable with that idea. So I would ask other salespeople, tell me, give me a piece of you. What makes you successful? They would give me the same old American bullshit about you've got to be positive, you've got to be get up and go. I said, fine, exactly, give me the specifics. How exactly do I do that? So I didn't say it in that way. More okay, you know, please give me the specifics. If you're right, give me the specifics. How do you do that? But no one could really give me specifics. So I decided to, I got desperate, and I decided I'm going to get a notepad, and I'm going to start making notes. And I'm going to make notes about what I do well, if I ever do it. But put down the absolute specifics of what I do well. And I thought I will write down notes of the specifics of what I do wrong. So the wrong part was very long. But the good part, there were some bits in there. And I began to take comfort in doing this. And I did this for the next 1.5 years, 2 years. And one weekend I thought, I can carry on taking notes forever. But until I actually look at those notes and see, is there anything there, I won't change. By this time I was, what, 18, 19, still a complete waste of skin. So one weekend I looked through my notes. And I took a red pen and I put a line through all the repetition. And I was looking for principles, I was looking for something from there that would give me the answer. Now by the end of that weekend, I ended up coming up with 5 rules, which I couldn't believe. I remember that Sunday night I was looking at those 5 rules. Bloody hell, that's amazing. Now again, because I'm not particularly educated, I'm not realistic, I don't understand that it takes months and years to learn something. I decided the next morning I'm going to go into my workplace and follow those 5 rules and just do it. So I went to work the next day and I did it. I did it every day for weeks and weeks. And then by the end of that month, in commission only, I took home £60,000 in 1 month. So this was December 1988. So I was pretty pleased with that. Now I thought in January 89, I'll do the same thing again. And then I earned another £60,000. So I thought £120,000 in 2 months is not bad. Then I took the money, I bought a flat in central London, I had changed, I had arrived. But people asked me, what is it? What is the change? What are you doing differently? I thought, I'm not going to tell you that, that's my secret. But what I had learned with those 5 rules is that sales is a precise, mathematical, complex skill. It is not the subjective art form only for bullshitters. Also I found good selling did not involve what I hated, and that is just talking shit and talking at people, forcing them. I found a way of selling, in fact, without selling. And what I realized was no one likes to be sold to, but everyone likes to buy. So if you can help people and change that paradigm shift, help people to buy, that already is going one step in the right direction. I delivered this training once in Spain, and I got to this part of the training, right? I said, no one likes to be sold to, but everyone likes to buy. And everyone has looked at me and said, we haven't been there. I said, not everyone likes to buy. Everyone likes to buy. That joke is practiced and well rehearsed and delivered always about this time. I was a bit scared there thinking no one's going to laugh at that. Luckily you did. And it's a true story. They really thought I was talking about Dubai. So anyway, those of you out there who are very technical, very hackerish and open source and you hate salespeople, what I can assure you is the way I can teach you how to sell is totally different from talking shit, talking a lot, forcing, pushing. Because I don't like that. I can't do that. I can only do it the other way. Have you heard of something? You probably won't have. There's an organization called Loutro, which came out in the late 80s in the UK. Loutro means Life and Unit Trust Regulatory Organization. And Loutro suddenly put a rule out there for people selling and being investments and stocks, etc. You have to be qualified. You can't just be picked off the street to do it. So I was suddenly being put in the position I had to take exams and study to carry on doing that job. Now I'm no good at exams and studying, so I left that. But what I really got good at from doing that was I was very good at cold calling businesses and setting appointments that do not blow out. Do you know what I mean by blow out? Appointments that do not cancel. So I thought I want to take myself and put myself in an area where I can carry on doing the work on the phone and set appointments that do not cancel. So I started working in software and hardware and IT. My job, a BDR, a business development representative. And over the next 7-8 years, I became very, very good at it. And what I was very good at is when I'm cold calling an organization, I don't cold call an IT manager or a data analyst. I always, again, due to my inherent stupidity and naivety, I always cold call CEOs, vice presidents, CIOs, CMOs. I don't care how big the company is. And I would get through to them. And when I would get through to them, I would keep them on the phone for half an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes even an hour. They would do 99% of the talking, not me. And I would think, what questions can I ask that means these people talk themselves into buying or into an appointment? Not what can I tell them for an appointment. So 7 years went by. Then in 1997, have you heard of a company called Compaq? So Compaq was a hardware manufacturer, and they, for the first time globally, decided to experiment with this thing called inside sales, telesales. And they went to a company in England called Merchants, an outsourced call center, and they gave them a project to do some outbound B2B calling. Now, I wasn't on that project, but the project manager got recruited by Compaq, taken to Glasgow, and they set up a big, world's first ever for Compaq call center. So one guy from this company, Merchants, moved there. He hired 300 graduates. Because if you hire graduates, you are guaranteed performance, aren't you? So he hired 300 graduates. He got the latest CRM system at the time, Siegel, the best computers, lovely offices. He made sure he gave so much product training, these people were more technical than you. And then he threw them on the phone and said, right, make it happen. 6 months went by, and he got no results. And that's when he phoned me. And I was still a telesales guy in 1997 in England, doing this telesales stuff on the phone. He said, Sanjoy, leave your job and come and join me as some self-employed consultant, trainer, whatever, and change this place. And make this place full of 300 years. I said, I can't do that. I've barely been human for 7-8 years. I can't imagine getting up in front of people and talking. Oh, all right, I've got this thing down on the phone, one-to-one, face-to-face. Talking in front of people in a group, I can't do that. So I turned it down. But then a few weeks later, I thought, oh, I'm going to do it. said this could be my only chance to get out of inside sales, go to a next level. So I moved to Glasgow to do this. Now, when I first arrived at the Compact call center, I walked through it to get to Adam's office. Adam was the guy who got me in. I couldn't believe how 300 people could be so quiet. All I could hear was tapping on keyboards and people sitting. So I went all the way through this place to Adam's office. I said, Adam, it's like a bloody library out there. He said, yes, it is. You've got to change it. So my vision became, I need to turn that library into a trading field. I never had a dream that I wanted to be a call center agent. I still don't. I'm not a call center expert, but I'm a sales expert on the phone. And for me, a good telesales, inside sales environment is like a trading floor in stock market. Smartly dressed people stood up, driving enterprise business. Not call center agents sitting around, reading scripts, doing jobs they hate. I delivered my first ever classroom training to a group of people. It's very much like this. No structure, no slides, freestyle, just went and blabbed at the front of the room. Now at the end of that training, it was one whole day, they said to me, what you're saying is theory. That doesn't work like that in real life. You can't get through to CIOs and CMOs. You can't make them talk. That's all in sales theory. I said, it's not theory, that's how I've worked, I can do it. Well, you can do it, but we don't believe you. Will you get on the phone and show it? And I thought, oh, yeah, I will. All right, bring it, I said, bring it. Give me the name right now, I said to that group, of a big corporate that won't use Compact. I'll put this speakerphone on speaker. I only want the switchboard number. I'll call that company cold. I'll identify the CIO, not an IT manager or an analyst, the CIO. I'll get through to that CIO. That CIO will spend half an hour, 45 minutes with me on the phone, and there will be an appointment with a qualified opportunity. They said, all right, call the BBC. The BBC, they only use Dell. You'll never even get the name of the CIO, let alone do all that stuff. So I got the switchboard number, put it on, called. I identified who the CIO was at reception. I got the PA's name. I got through to the PA, spoke to the PA. The PA spoke to me. She put me through to the CIO. The CIO did spend half an hour, 45 minutes on the phone, and there was an appointment with a qualified opportunity. So that gave me, if nothing else, forget the group, that gave me a massive buzz. That's the sort of thing people do in films. I was doing it in Greece. The group there was absolutely blown away. They said, we've had training before, but no trainer puts their... No trainer does this and does it themselves and gets on the phone. So the group left and did it like I asked them to do it. I was still buzzing. Remember what I was like only 7, 8 years before that, right? Barely human. And there I was making these live phone calls out to CIOs. So I knew I was going to deliver another sales training 3 weeks later. And I decided I wasn't going to wait for the group to say to me, look, we don't believe you. I will proactively ask every group I'm ever with at the end of the session to give me the name of a corporate they think is impossible, just the switchboard number. I will make the call and achieve what I did with the BBC. So over the next 10 years, HP took over Compact. I became head of sales training eventually for whole of inside sales across EMEA. EMEA means Europe, Middle East and Africa, and helped roll it out for HP across all those countries. I did hundreds of those live calls, and I have a 100% conversion rate. Now that's not because I'm slimy, I'm cool, I'm pushy. It's because I boiled it down to such a repeatable mathematical science that it can only work. So one thing I did find out, it doesn't just work in England. When I went to the other countries, South Africa, every country in Central Europe, France, Belgium, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Poland, every country in the Middle East, the first thing people would say to me, you're from England, that's how it works there, but it's different over here. Always. But let me ask you all people, How do you measure the health of any business on this planet? Is it
Cash
revenue?
flow. Cash flow.
Come on.
Revenue.
Revenue cost.
Okay, is it revenue? Wait a minute, who said margin? Let me just pretend it's still revenue. If you've got a company with 100 million revenue, another company with 50 million revenue, which one is healthier?
50. Because of the margin.
It depends. The answer is you do not have enough data. What data is missing? Costs. So a company with 50 million revenue maybe has 5 million costs. Maybe the company with 100 million revenue has 95 million in costs. So the 100 million revenue, in fact, has 5 million profit, while the 50 million revenue has 45 million in profit. So the answer is the measure, or the measurement of health of any company on this planet, and that also includes Belgium, all right, is profit, not revenue.
It's not exactly true.
Can you look at a situation where it's not the case?
Amazon
Yeah.
made profit for 1 quarter in the whole lifetime.
Yeah.
It's a healthy company.
It is health company, yeah.
Facebook.
Do you think they're planning to be like that forever?
No, at one point they reached a certain high point, which I think they pretty well know where that is. And then they changed business models and continue differently.
Yeah. But do you think this is a permanent move forever?
It's been going on for like, what, 10 years? It's not a short-term move.
Which part of their business do you think is absorbing their profit?
Investing in new opportunities, expanding the business sideways.
The part of their business that's taking all their profit at the moment, which they're betting their future on, is virtualization. Have all of you heard of AWS, Amazon Web Services? So the reason why Amazon's not making profit, they're putting a lot of money into building these data centers where they're offering those virtualized storage online. Now, they've got a long-term goal with that, which is, yes, take all the profits from their retail business, throw it into Amazon Web Services. But over time, their goal is definitely margin and profit. Think about it, Amazon. If Amazon were not concerned about profit, why would they pay their warehouse workers the little sums they do? Why would they insist on the efficiency and the speed of delivery? Profit is everything, because they want to make sure they've got a very efficient, lean business model. And if they hadn't started AWS, Amazon Web Services, it would be very profitable. But they're betting the future on virtualization. Profit really is it. I'm shocked anyone would even want to argue with this. Did communism take over here?
Last year.
But it's a fact. If you're in business, you're there to make money. Sometimes people give me Michael Jackson, We Are the World answers. It's all about our customers and their satisfaction. Bollocks! It's only about their satisfaction if it means money is coming. It is like that. It's not just me saying that. If you look at the boards and C-levels of all companies, all they care about is minimizing costs, maximizing revenues, and measuring the delta. There's nothing wrong with that. You know the way you all run your lives and your homes? It's exactly the same as a business. You have an income, which is what you earn, your salary. You have your costs, which is your rent, your mortgages, your loans, whatever, food, water, bills, heating. Your aim is that the money coming in is obviously more than the money going out, right? So if your outgoings every month are 1,000 euros, you want to earn 1,500 at least. That gives you 500 profit. And all businesses work in exactly the same way. Now what I found was when selling technology, be it software, hardware, services, whatever, you have to tie your offering into either reducing costs, increasing revenues, or ideally both. That's when you get it signed off. Which is harder, business to business selling or business to consumer selling? B2C or B2B? Which is tougher?
B2B.
B2C.
Depends on scalability. Okay, in my
The sales
opinion.
cycles are much bigger in B2B.
Yeah. In my opinion, B2C is much harder than B2B. And in fact, B2B is very easy. You just choose to realize it and apply it. Why is that? Why do I think, you think, that B2C is difficult?
It's more rational. B2B is more rational.
Absolutely. B2B is far more rational. In B2C, we're always buying things we don't need. We buy things we cannot afford. We don't look at balance sheets. We don't look at what's coming in, what's going out. Some of us can be living in a council house, but we have a Mercedes parked outside. Don't even have the brain to realize, buy property first, then a car. But you can't, a business can't afford to do that. A business has to always think about whatever they buy, whatever they do. How is it reducing costs? How is it increasing revenues? And it's a lot easier selling B2B. Selling B2C can be really tough. You're just dealing with emotion. Anyway, shall we start talking about some of those rules? The reason I told you that story is some of you said, I want to know that I can do it too. I want you to know that really, a retard like me can do this. You definitely can, really. I am naturally still what I was in 1985. Shy, quiet, introvert, fast talker. Everything you're seeing out here right now is a calculated act. Nothing else. Have you ever heard the phrase, you must be natural? You must make it your own. You must be comfortable with it. You heard that? And then you get trained something, but it's so important you make it your own. I'm not very politically correct. So I can say to you that if I was natural, being myself, I would be working in McDonald's now. And that's being ambitious. Most likely I'd still be with my parents, being natural. So my view is being natural. Do what works. Simple as that. That's what my simple brain tells me to do. Find out what works and do it. I'm not obsessed with being natural. It's overrated. If I was natural now, I'd be sitting like this, and I'm here, I'd have a chair. Being natural, I'd be sitting here, and I'd be a PowerPoint slide. Basically, I'd be talking like this, because this, frankly, is how it really becomes my being. It's not my issue. But it doesn't earn me any money, though. So what do you think so far? Do you think if I can do it, you can do it? What do you like about the selling idea? I'm not going to teach you to sell, to push, but I want to teach you how to help people buy it. What do you all think on?
You're fixing a problem, normal, or a pain, something.
Yeah.
You're giving a solution, normally.
Actually, selling is enrollment, and you do that in everything you do every day.
That's right.
Selling is enrollment, and you do that with everything that you do in your life, with the people around you. You enroll people in everything, you know, in the relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you be more specific?
The 5 rules. Do you want to know what they are?
Yes.
All right, have a 10-minute break and we'll do that. So there are 5 rules. All I'm going to do is I'm going to share some of them with you. Do I have all of your attention today when I'm speaking?
Yes. Yes.
Wow, there's life. Right, okay. Now I'm going to demonstrate the first rule. But I need some kind of cupboard to hide in for 10 seconds in order to do this properly. Just check if this door is this one. Oh, sorry. Oh, I can do this, alright.
Do you mind if we
So,
exchange? Because it would be good to
the 5 rules. 3 of those rules about communicating. Because I needed to get the basics down. And the basics were, I could barely communicate confidently or clearly. So 3 of those rules are purely about communication skills. One of the rules, and only one, summarizes completely how to sell. And the last rule is about attitude. Now, I'm not claiming that all of you here are not able to communicate, and that you need me to come and tell you how to communicate. However, I'm sure you will all agree that if you look back at your life, when you have communicated in the past, there have been times where you've communicated brilliantly, but there have been other times where you haven't communicated so well. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And often we find that we communicate brilliantly in situations that don't really matter. But when it comes to situations which do matter, that's where you fall apart. So wouldn't it be great to capture what you guys and you girls all here naturally do when you communicate well, and know the specifics of the techniques your subconscious mind is throwing up at you, so you can repeat, activate, and sound great at will when you need to. Would that be a good thing?
Yeah.
For example, me, I'm utterly nervous and shitting myself from being here. But the great thing is about those 3 rules. If I follow those 3 rules, you'll never know that. So I can hide behind my 3 rules. If I'm selling on the phone, if I'm selling face to face, if I'm in any situation where I need an outcome, and I need to be in control, and I need to be very compelling, I simply use those 3 rules. What do you think those rules are for communication? Before I go into telling you what they are, what do you think they are?
asking questions.
Yeah.
Know what you want to say.
Yeah.
Feel confident, speak loud and clear.
Understanding.
Know what's in it for them.
I need absolute specifics, and we're not talking about selling here. We're just talking about the basics of communicating.
Understanding the problem.
Showing genuine interest.
Articulating.
Yeah.
Saying much in less words.
Yeah, that's very good as well. But what's the technique of doing that? Imagine you are a retarded, fast-talking, quiet, useless person like I was. I know none of you are. Imagine if you were. What specifics can you give that person? Really precise, tangible specifics for them to change how they speak.
Copy the other guys today. Copy the other guys, talk the same way he does.
Smile.
Okay.
Unless you don't have anything.
Listen more than you talk.
Okay, so a lot of the things I teach in my sales training is completely the opposite of what you will learn in standard sales training. Now, one of the standard things in sales training you will hear is something called reflecting, which is talk like the person you're speaking to. So imagine someone trying to sell to 1985 Sanjoy. Now, if 1985 Sanjoy was a waffling, quiet, muttering, unclear person, should the salesperson similarly be waffling, quiet, unclear, and have no confidence? Should they?
No.
So personally, I don't believe in the reflecting side of it. But those of you who do, it's understandable, because that's what is taught everywhere. It's a basic common sense, isn't it, of sales? But anyway, let's now go into that first rule. Now, for me to demonstrate the first rule, I need to go into that cupboard for 10 seconds. Maybe a bit longer, because there's so many of them. And in that cupboard, I'm going to get into the mindset and get rid of all my acts and go back to 1985 Sanjoy. Now I'll come out here and talk to you like I really would. and then you can tell me what you think. What's wrong with that cupboard? There's another cupboard. Oh,
Yes, man. You will be naked when it comes back. Yeah, when he comes back.
Wasn't me.
No, he's not naked. Pity for the girls.
He's hiding.
Hello, my name is Sanjoy Bhose, and basically I'm here to talk to you about a sales workshop I'll be running with Omar, and hopefully, basically I'm going to try and cover tonight lots of stuff about what makes me a good salesperson, and basically I've got I think I've got 558 PowerPoint slides. And basically, I want to go through this PowerPoint. Basically, hopefully, maybe you can see, if it's of interest to you at the end of it all. So obviously, you've all done some sales before. Actually, I think it's important that I do keep the flow going and I do talk and everything. But please only ask me questions at the end. But basically, is that okay? Is that all right? Anyone have any questions?
Can't you articulate?
What did you think of that?
Boring. Boring.
Hey? Okay, so give me specifics. First of all, what impact did that make?
Negative.
Lack of confidence.
Depressing.
Depressing.
You want to help?
580 slides coming up.
Please put your hands away from your pockets, like doing nervous things like.
Terrible non-verbal communication.
Terrible non-verbal communication, yes. What was I doing non-verbally?
Well, exactly that, nothing.
No eye contact. Give me specifics. What was it about what I was saying that was so bad, so weak?
You didn't believe in yourself when you sang.
That's the impact of it.
There's no exchange. You don't look at us. You're not with us.
You were talking about yourself. You were talking to yourself.
It was factual. You just said what's going to happen.
You prepared it.
Stand up, let everyone know.
So if I was on the phone talking in that way, would I sell anything? If I met you face to face and spoke in that way, would I sell anything?
No.
It's like for the last hour you have told so many things, but nothing actually of interest, and you haven't shared anything. We still don't know one of the 5 rules, so but you've been talking for an hour. And here in that little scene, you were exactly saying what was going to happen. There was no seduction.
It's long.
So what are you saying? Is it good so far or bad?
I've had better.
I love you too.
You replace the bullshit by a nice act, right? That's the difference. So it's not the words and it's not big words, but in the end, fundamentally it's right. I enjoyed listening to you.
To what? To the 1985 century?
No, the one before.
Oh, okay.
Okay? It was a nice conversation and you get the flow going, but the 5 rules we still don't know. Then I have to go to them.
Yes, we have our attention.
We have to pay for training.
I'm annoying you, eh? I'm saying a lot without saying anything.
You're in Belgium.
Hey? Okay. I need specifics. The 1985 Sanjoy needs specifics on how to sound better. Now the first rule is...
Right after this break.
After you buy my book. You will see it.
Minimize your content dilution. Minimize your content dilution. Now that's a reaction I expect, I want, I need. Which is, after all that build-up, what the hell does that mean? Minimize your content dilution. Absolutely. So, in every single language, there are words, there are noises, there are phrases, especially in English, in all languages I know, which, if you use too much, sound like you are not confident, you don't know what you're talking about, you're bullshitting, whatever. But there are these words and phrases. So for example, in English, overuse of the words basically, actually, obviously, maybe, could be, probably, will give you the impression I don't really know what I'm talking about. Also, overuse of the noises. This is universal. If you're from Spain. If you're Scottish. If you're French. Overuse of those noises, or any kind of noises, doesn't make a very good impact. Now you will notice, whatever you think of me, whatever the fact that I haven't said anything, you don't know the rules. From the beginning of my talk, I have not used phrases like basically this, actually that, obviously this, maybe this, could be that, Now, it's not that you all know that, you're thinking he hasn't made those noises, it sounds good. But the fact that I don't make those noises automatically makes me sound better. There are other phrases which are sales specific, which is in sales, when you're asking a question that you're nervous about, you may start that question with, can I ask? Would it be possible to ask how much you're planning to spend? Can I ask what the budget is? Would it be okay to ask if it's a good time to talk? Can I ask if you have a few moments? Now, in my experience, I've found that not necessarily direct translation of those words and phrases are content dilution in your various languages. However, in your native tongue, there are words and phrases that similarly are content dilution. Like in German, people tend to say oder at the end of every question. It's totally unnecessary. Möglicherweise, eigentlich. This is German content dilution. Let me give you a very sales-specific content dilution. So I hope you don't pick this up when you start selling. Do all of you here have a personal life? Hey? Or are you just hackers, work obsessed? Do you have a personal life? Do you have a character or a personality? Now, in your personal life, do you ever go up to someone and say, would it be of interest to go out for dinner tonight? Can I interest you in going to the cinema? Can I interest you in going to a hotel? Would it be of interest to go and see a show? Can I interest you in going to a talk this evening? Do you ever say that? Do you? Do you, yes or no?
No.
Why? Why can't you say, would it be of interest? Can I interest you?
Risk.
Risk?
There is a risk, they say. No, there is doubt.
Come on, give a more basic reason.
I create the option, no.
Can I interest you?
You give a choice.
You're allowing them to say no.
People, look, let's get basic with this. The reason you don't say it, because you will sound like a twat.
Yeah.
That's it. You'll sound like a complete idiot. The person you're speaking to will think, what do you mean, can I interest you? You're not at work now. Can you speak to me like I'm a human being? Right? There's no rational, logical reason why you don't use it. You don't use it because it's just not right. It's silly. Isn't it? Can I interest you in going out for dinner? It doesn't make sense. It's horrible. But in real life, in your personal lives, when you have a good idea, when you explain something, when you have enthusiasm, it's very likely, in whatever language you speak, that at the end of proposing something, you normally say, let's go to the cinema. What do you think? What do you think? So the first rule in sales is if you are explaining something to a prospect, do not ever finish it off, is that of interest to you? It's appalling. It's so call center. It's so basic. It's so totally insincere. Imagine explaining whatever you do and say, okay, we do this, we do that, we can do that and that. So what do you think? Can you feel it just sounds better than saying, is that of interest to you? Ask people what they think, not if it's of interest to them. You will find high-level consultants from McKinsey's, Accenture, etc., PwC. When they do consulting, they understand problems, they give recommendations. They'll never finish it off with, would that be of interest? Can you imagine going to a doctor, that doctor really understanding all the things that's wrong with you, and say, would a vasectomy be of interest? Or can I interest you in having an operation to remove your ears? You'd think, what do you mean, can you interest me? I've told you about everything, my problems, what they are. You tell me what you recommend. That's another great phrase to use. If you've understood your prospect's problem situations, recommend a next step. Use that word. For example, in German, Empfehlung is the verb. Right? So from what you've said, I recommend we do this, this, and this, and we set this up. What do you think? That's just a lot more professional, a lot more real, a lot less cheesy, salesy. Can I interest you? What do you all think? Is that adding any value?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to give you an example. For this to demonstrate another phrase in the world of content dilution that's very valuable. I was in South Africa 10 years ago, and I did my usual live phone call. They asked me to phone South African Airways. Now, I was doing a training at a hardware company called ASA, right? And I was teaching these people how to cold call CIOs and sell ASA. So they said to me, call South African Airways. You're not going to get the name of the CIO and all that usual stuff. Anyway, I phoned, I got through to the CIO, half an hour conversation, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm going to tell you all now is I'm going to tell you exactly how I opened up that call with that CIO. Word for word, exactly what I said. And I want to discuss your views on how that sounded. Because in there's one more aspect of this minimizing content dilution. Okay, so I found out that the CIO of South African Airways, that person's name was Mike Ray. So I got past the PA and all this stuff on speaker, and then Mike Ray answered the phone. Mike Ray answered the phone like this. Hello, Mike Ray speaking. Which is a posh way of saying, hello, Mike Ray speaking. Hello, Mike Ray speaking. I said, good afternoon, Mr. Ray. This is exactly how I said it, right? Good afternoon. I'm pretending there's a speakerphone here, which I'm looking down at to get my voice into it. So, good afternoon, Mr. Ray. My name is Sanjoy Bhose. Now, I'm calling you from ACE's South African headquarters here in Johannesburg. Now, I understand, Mr. Ray, that you are the CIO of South African Airways. Yeah. Excellent. Mr. Ray, is this a good time to talk? Well, no time really is a good time to talk. What can I do for you? Which says, no time really is a good time to talk, but what can I do for you? But in his posh way. And I said, okay, I am conscious there is no relationship whatsoever between South African Airways headquarters here in Johannesburg and ACE's headquarters here in Johannesburg. Yeah. Yes. And I'm sure for you to even consider working with ASA at any point in the future, some kind of relationship needs to be in place. Well, yeah. Yes. I said, excellent. Well, that's all I'm phoning to start. Now, Mike, what is your perception of Acer as a brand? Let me understand. And then he just started telling me what he thinks about Acer and how it's positioned as a brand. And then I asked the real killer question that opens up a good business-to-business sales call. Okay, you're CIO, so you're involved with all things IT, software, hardware. However, let's put IT to one side. What are the main business drivers and issues that South African Airways are facing or planning to address in the next 6 to 12 months that's ultimately driving your IT strategy in the first place? Now the answer he gave, absolutely, that is eventually what he said. But the first answer he gave me was a technology response. He goes, oh, ERP, CRM, server consolidation. I said, excellent, I'm really glad you're doing all that. But what's happening in the business that's making you think that you need to look at ERP, CRM, server consolidation? And that's when he knew that I understood the question I asked. Then he started telling me about his business. But anyway, let's go back to the intro. Let's rewind. What did you think of that intro to a cold call?
Isn't it just dangerous to ask him at that moment, is it a good time to call? Could have stopped at that moment.
No, he couldn't have. I can go into that rule in a moment.
Power of silence.
Yep, absolutely. Any other comments? What did you think of that intro? Did it sound like a standard telesales call?
You acknowledge his position.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Very well noted. One thing about cold calling, this gentleman said that I acknowledged their position, the person's title. What's your name, sir?
Hugo.
Hugo. All right, Hugo, thank you. So one thing that cold callers never ever do is they don't know the title of the person they're phoning. And not only that, they don't even confirm it. So one great thing to do at the beginning of a call is say, hello, my name is, I'm calling from. I understand you are the job title at company name. But anyway, that call, did it sound like it was my 50th, 60th call? Or did it sound very specific and precise to South African Airways? So what made it sound specific to South African Airways?
Personal touch.
Personalized.
How was it personalized?
I mean, first thing, it sounds personalized because when you're saying there is no relation. All the rest before there's no relation.
I mean, for headquarters and stuff in Johannesburg, you said we have our
That's good, yeah.
in Johannesburg.
There's no relationship. The headquarters piece really helped a lot, but there's something else really specific. Something that you possibly all have naturally done at times, but you haven't captured it.
Stated his name.
Yeah? Said, what was that?
Stated his name.
Yep, I said his name, yep. Something else, I mean, really.
You said it's a good time to talk.
Yeah.
And the future team? Something the goal in the future?
Yeah. I want to know what words and phrases I used made it sound specific and tailored to South African Airways.
I know we didn't have any business.
Ah, well, here we got it. We've got it. Ingrid, tell me.
Yeah, you used the brand name. You talked about.
Don't underestimate this. I used the company name, South African Airways. I used our company name. But what I did not do, which some of you may find yourselves doing if you don't watch out, I understand there's no relationship between my company and your company. And I'm sure for your company to do business with our company, some kind of relationship needs to be in place. Does that sound good? It sounds like a load of call center, your call number 100 waffle. So what changed it, 100%, was simply using their company name. So if you're cold calling a company, never say your company. Say, use their company name. So if you're calling Cirrus, the company Omar works at, how does Cirrus do this? Not how does your company do that? Can you feel the difference already? How does your company do this? How does Cirrus precisely tackle these particular issues? Can you feel the credibility difference in that? Use the company name. What do you think? Was denkst du?
You asked him so often in the first couple of sentences that I think one of the first questions was asked, like, is it a good time to talk? You gave him such a good feeling that it was really heartbreaking for him to say no. It was really at the right time. Maybe later, if you would have bothered him or annoyed him or something, it was much easier to say, no, maybe you can call back later.
Okay, let me answer that. I'm now going to jump from the 3 rules to this thing about asking if it's a good time to talk. I agree with you somewhat, but I believe sales is a very precise, scientific, mathematical process. It's not subjective. If you do it right, there's no way out to your prospect. Now this thing about good time to talk, what's wrong with saying, think about it, is this a good time to talk? No. Then I'm bugging, aren't I?
The fact that he answered your phone call means it is a good time.
It's a good time if, for someone he wants to talk to, yes. Anyway, let's go back to 1990. Forget that. Let's go back to Omar and his story at the beginning of this session. When I was in Bahrain, and I did that live phone call to Movenpick Bahrain, what gave me the confidence to make that call was I knew that the general manager, the country manager, the SVP or whatever, that had phoned Movenpick, that person had not asked, is this a good time to talk? I knew it. And I knew that because I am going to ask it, there's no way out of it for my prospect. Seems odd, eh?
Yeah.
1991, I'm 22 years old, 2 years of being human. I went on a course. The biggest problem I was experiencing was I've learned how to communicate sound well. I've learned how to really understand and consult. I'd learned to give a short, powerful reason for a call. But where I was going wrong was often I was starting my call and people would put the phone down and say, look, not interested, or I haven't got the time, I'm busy, boom. And I thought if you would only listen to me, just the first intro, it's not very long, I'll give you a short, good reason to speak to me. So I went on a course to learn this technique, which would mean that people I phone will always talk to me or will have another time to talk to me, but they will talk to me. So I went to this course, 22, remember, 2 years of being human. I'm just missing this little technique that takes me to the next level. I sit right at the front of the group. The trainer comes to the front and he says, whenever you phone someone, you must say to them, is this a good time to talk? I was like, oh man. This guy's an idiot. Because now I'm going to start the whole call off with a closed question where they can say no. But then this trainer began to explain the science behind, is this a good time to talk? So let's look into that. Phone up and you say, hello, my name is, I'm calling from. I understand you are the job title and company name. Yes. Excellent. Mr. Smith, is this a good time to talk? No. Or they could say, yes. What do you do if they say yes? Then you're really bugging, aren't you? I had someone today on a training course said to me that he asked someone if it's a good time to talk. The person said yes. And then the caller said, well, are you sure it's a good time? So what may happen is you'll get freaked out that they've said yes. Exactly so. Anyway, so if they say yes, it gives you the chance, if nothing else, to give a short, powerful introduction about why you're phoning. Now that introduction has to be short, full of value, and you've got to get them talking. But at least they will listen to it. Now what happens if they say no? When is a good time? So, if someone says no, it's not a good time, what do you ask?
When would be a good time to go?
When is a good time to do so?
Okay, let's look at that. You're perfectly right. Let's say, when shall I call back? Okay? When shall I call back is absolutely the right thing to say. Can I call back is absolutely the right thing to say.
Or no.
Is it?
No.
Ah. So which is better?
Can I call it back in an hour?
Tomorrow after tomorrow.
Ask him to call you back.
Let's look at it. When shall I call you back? What's the most important word in that sentence that makes it powerful? When? Anyone else? When shall I call you back?
Sure. You make yourself too available.
Shall. Come on, talk to me. What's the most important word, Sebastian? When? When?
You. Back. Question mark.
But what happens most times, it isn't that black and white. Like if they say no and you say I'll call you back later, then they want to know what it's about, and then you're on a bad basis because he actually doesn't want to know, but he wants to be, get rid of it.
So if they say no, instead of saying I'll call you back later, let's assume we say let's take it back. Let's not be so pushy. Let's say okay, when shall I call you back?
The fact that it's not optional, that you will call back.
Okay, people, the most important word in that sentence, quite rightly, is when. You must say, when shall I call you back? Not, can I call you back? Because you can't say yes or no to when. But I know a lot of you are thinking that you can say never. Can't you? Yeah. You say never, right? Now this is where saying the first part, hello, my name is, I understand you are, the job title at company name. Yes. Is this a good time to talk? You must do that bit in a polished, beautiful way. Now the good thing about doing that bit in that polished, beautiful way is that no one else does it. The person you're phoning will receive many phone calls. You will be the first person they have ever spoken to, cold, who is saying, I understand you are this, at company name. So that immediately, first of all, separates you from everyone else. Now they've said no to is this a good time to talk? You say, when shall I call back? Now you mentioned earlier, at that point, they're thinking, I want to say never. This caller sounds a bit different. So what is the normal thing to ask at that point? Well, what does the prospect want to ask you before they tell you to go away?
What's about?
What's it about? Now, what's it about is as good as saying yes to is this a good time to talk? But what's it about? Now, whatever introduction you had planned for when the person said yes is the same introduction that you now use when the person says, what's it about? Now, it could have been when they said no, when shall I call back? They may have turned around and said, call me back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Excellent, I'll call back then. What's your direct dial? But ladies and gentlemen, what I'm telling you now is not theoretical. I would not do live phone calls. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've made thousands of phone calls. And this technique works every single time. So is this a good time to talk? Always works. Now, is this a good time to talk? Is very different from, am I disturbing you? Is this a bad time? Do you have a few moments to listen to me? Can I take a few moments of your time? Which all sounds very call center. It's not polite. Don't give me that. It's polite. It's just low-level call center. Do you want to be call center agents?
No.
Ask, is this a good time to talk?
They say no, what is it not?
That's fine. No, what's it about?
What
Absolutely.
if you get put through to the person you don't know what their name is?
How do you answer the question, what is this about?
You have your introduction ready. Let's go to that micro. Let me just answer those two questions there. Come to that in a minute. What was your question?
If you get put through the person and it's like, oh, this is not for me, it's my colleague, and they pass it to somebody else,
Absolutely.
and you don't know their name and position.
So the question was that what if you suddenly get put through to a person where you don't know what their title is, what their name is, but you've been told they are the right person? How would you start a call like that?
Say who you are.
Ask them their name.
No.
Just say, I was looking for this person, but before he told me I better talk to you.
Yeah. And then what? Yeah, then who am I speaking to? What's your name? Oh, my name is this. Excellent. What's your job title there? Why do you want to know? I want to be sure I'm talking to the right person. Okay, so what's your job title, sir? It's this. Excellent. Well, my name is this. I'm calling from. Now, John, as you are the CIO there, or the CMO, is this a good time to talk?
Okay.
What would be, sorry to interrupt you, what would be a good translation to native tongue? Like, I know you can't answer this question, but should it be Belly Kilege or, I don't know, it's like an old question. Sorry.
No, I'm fine with that. What is the question? Translation of, is this a good time to talk?
Yeah. Like, with a good information. I use Belly Kilege, which means, is this a good time for you?
I would say, is this literally, when it comes to is this a good time to talk, I recommend highly, and I have found from my work across Europe, translating that literally word for word is the best thing you can do into your native language. Yeah.
We always call it
How does it sound, you say?
Is it proper?
Okay, look, clearly it's got to be in proper, your local grammar. As long as it's grammatically correct. But is this a good time to talk? Say it grammatically correctly in the way you're saying. But do not translate it to, do you have a few moments? Is this a bad time? Am I disturbing you? Really? Is that, do you think that's a good thing? No. It's negative. It's awful. Am I disturbing? Why do you want to grovel to people? Why do you think it's disturbing? What is it? What do you want to say?
It is a positive word. It means do I call, and then it's positive words.
What language are you talking about? Dutch. Okay.
Yeah, it's so important because to express why we're discussing
Let's get back to my question.
Look, people, we're going to carry on for another 20 minutes.
Yes.
What I'm looking forward to doing is, people, what I'm looking forward to doing is having you in an all-day workshop. Give me your phone numbers. Be as cynical as you want. And I will call in your local countries in English where I can get away with it and prove this on speakerphone. I'll call all day if you want. I won't do one successful call, I'll do 20 of them. I'll do whatever it takes for you to believe this works. No other trainer you will ever meet in your life will put their balls on the line like that. You wouldn't, frankly. A lot of you here saying, yeah, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. You get on the phone in front of me, speaker it, do it. Then we'll talk. I will do it to you. All right?
How do you best answer the question? What?
It said yes at the beginning.
What is your perception of the Instagram?
That was at the end of my introduction.
Could you give a concrete example?
Yeah, so let's look at the ASA example, and let's imagine that Mike Ray had said no, and then I'd said, when shall I call back? And he'll say, what's it about? And let's look at what I would say. Oh, hello, Mike Ray speaking. Good afternoon, Mr. Ray. My name is Sanjoy Bhose, and I'm calling from ASA's South African headquarters here in Johannesburg. Now, I understand, Mr. Ray, that you are the CIO for South African Airways. Yeah. Excellent. Is this a good time to talk? No. Okay, when shall I call back? Well, what's it about? Well, what's it about? I am conscious that there is no relationship whatsoever between ASA's South African headquarters here in Johannesburg and South African Airways headquarters here in Johannesburg. Yeah. And I'm sure for you to even consider working with ASA at any point in the future, some kind of relationship needs to be in place. Well, yeah. Well, that's all I'm phoning to start. What is your perception, Mike, of the ASA brand so far, to date? So what I'm wanting to demonstrate there, that's exactly what I said, even though he said yes at the beginning. So whatever you have ready is totally appropriate for if they say what's it about. Because you are automatically, through your prepared introduction, saying what it's about. But anyway, look, in the interest of time, I want to go on to the second rule. All I've given you is one rule.
A question, because there's a lot of startups here. What do you do if you have a brand that has absolutely no history? I don't know your brand.
Yeah. So, very good question. Whenever I do those live calls, it's a calculated risk. Okay? And that calculation is I'm calling from a very well-known brand. And when I'm calling from a well-known brand, I can give 100% guarantee of success. However, you lot are in a different position. You're calling from a literally completely unknown startup new name brand, right?
Yeah.
The difference there between the introduction I talked about and your introduction is you have to have 2 sentences in there which talk about giving a top line of what you do. But it must be a maximum of 2 sentences. I am still prepared to make those live phone calls in front of you in the context of your businesses, no name brands. I can't give a 100% guarantee. I'll give a 99% guarantee I'll be successful. That 1% is taken away due to the fact that it's no brand. So it's less easy when you haven't got a brand. Guys, remember, I know you're looking at me cynically. I've been doing this. I will prove it to you. What is it in my interest to bullshit? Why? Because some of you...
Or revenue or profit?
Bullshit won't give me revenue. I have to live up to all the things I'm saying. So when you do come to my workshop, I will make those calls live.
We are already at your workshop. Let's hear the rule number 2.
Okay, rule number 2 is closely related to rule number 1. What do you think the problem is with rule number 1? You've got a list. Let's say you've made a list on a pad of 20 phrases, words that you mustn't use. How do you feel about now having to talk to someone with a list of things you can't say? You feel restricted, don't you? You feel scared to speak. You think, how can I speak because I'm so concentrated on what not to say. I don't know what to say, right? So the second rule is very closely related to the first rule. The second rule is the hardest rule to do, especially in a cold situation. It is your fear of doing the second rule on that phone call, on that cold face-to-face, in a presentation, that makes you dilute your content in the first place. The second rule is only one word, but it is the toughest one to do in a situation where you're uncomfortable. All great public speakers use the second rule. Yes. But whether you like me or you hate me, I have your attention. Right? Now the reason I have your attention is because I am exaggeratedly using that second rule. What is the second rule?
Suspense.
Yes, silence, pausing. How is that related to the first rule? Minimize content dilution.
The us go away.
Yeah, basically not saying anything.
Yeah, and you will find, in fact, that if you listen to 1985 Sanjoy with his content diluted speech, and you do a transcript of it, and you put a red line through all the content dilution, all the fluff, all the umming, erring, basically and actually, you will find everywhere I should be pausing is where I was diluting. The places, people, where you will use those noises, those words, those fillers, is all the places where you think, I mustn't pause. There's something that we've been taught indirectly through society that almost says that when you're selling something, you mustn't pause. Because if you pause, it sounds like you don't know what you're talking about. There has to be a flow. It has to be non-stop. It has to be blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Because, for God's sake, please don't give the impression you're thinking about what you're saying. That would be horrible, wouldn't it? Isn't it better to give the impression you're reading of something and you're not thinking anything? It's better, isn't it? So it's the pause. instead of thinking about what to replace all those content dilution words and terms, replace it with silence. You will use content dilution as you're speaking to fill in the fillers. So what we're going to do here is talk about sales, and basically, yeah, I'm going to talk about the things that have made me successful, basically in the last 25 years. And one of the things you'll find what I'm saying now is that it's a very non-stop speech. And you're thinking, yeah, it's quite interesting, but basically you've got to understand if I was doing this for 2 hours, basically you would have fallen asleep by now. Really, that is the case. But you can see that, look, I just don't want to pause. And because I don't want to pause, everywhere I'm thinking, I'm putting I'm putting basically, I'm putting actually. Then you feel yourself going into a coma. Everywhere that I should have paused, I was using dilution. What do you think? That is the second rule. And when I say pause, I don't mean a silent close. Do you know what I mean by a silent close? A silent close is asking a question and then shutting up. That is a sales rule I agree with. Ask a question, shut up, be silent and wait for the response. That's a different technique. I'm talking about when you're delivering some content, you're delivering a paragraph of information. While you're talking, every now and again, pause. Because while I pause, it gives me a lot more control over what I'm saying. And if you're cold calling, you'll be the only person that the prospect is speaking to who's actually pausing. It gives the impression of confidence. It takes away the whole vibe of desperation. Pause. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 to 9. I don't want to keep you any longer. But thank you very much for tolerating my bullshit. And I look forward, hopefully, to see you in the workshop.